I'm truly fascinated.
So this was the building that they used as the Capitol building.
I mean, are you serious? That's fun. It's the State of the State Parks podcast with Chris and Mo. Hello and welcome back to the State of the State Parks. I'm Chris and
I'm Mo. Today, we continue deeper into Benicia, heading into town to the Benicia State Historic Park.
in 1847, Dr. Robert Semple, Thomas O. Larkin, and General M.G. Vallejo founded a little harbor town with a nice deep dock. They originally named the city Francisca in homage to Vallejo's wife, Donna Francisca Benicia Carrillo.
Shortly thereafter, the name was changed to Benicia, but we will let that story play out later in this episode when it is explained by someone who knows a few things about this town.
After we had our guided hike, we stopped in town, grabbed some Sammys, tuna on bread, cheese and lettuce. Ooh, also, we learned not to ask for sprouts on our sandwiches here.
We arrived at the Benicia Capitol State Historic Park around 1 p.m. and ran into a new friend. We're at the Benicia Capitol State Historic Park, so this was the building that they used as the Capitol building for that 1 year.
Amazing. And then they have this timeline here that talks about the Benicia Capitol. In 1852, the new California legislature is dissatisfied with Vallejo facilities, and Benicia completes construction of its city hall.
Now remember that guy said they were dissatisfied because of it was flooding and pests? Fleas and flooding?
Fleas. So in 1853, the legislature moved into the new Benicia Capitol, and then in 1854, the legislature is removed to Sacramento. Only a year, 1853 to 1854, was Benicia the capital of California.
But this is interesting. From 1854 until 1858, the former capital serves as the Solano County Courthouse.
But then in 1858, the Benicia Grammar School occupies this building. 1860, a wood frame wing is added for use by the fire department. 1910, it becomes the city hall and the public library. And then over the years, the building serves in many ways as housing, school, worship services, and more. In 1951, the state begins the process of acquiring the building as a historic monument. 1956,
the building remains vacant while extensive repairs begin, and in 1958, a painstakingly restored Capitol building opens to the public.
And it has been a historic park since 1976.
Benicia Capitol, California's third capital, serving the state and the community, built in 1852 as a city hall. This grand facility was used to lure the legislature and the economic opportunities it would bring. California's oldest standing capital was the third for a young and restless state. This Greek Revival Palladian structure housed the state legislature and archives from February 1853 to February 1854. During its time here, the bilingual body passed legislation enabling women to own property. California State Parks acquired the building in 1951 and restored it to its original splendor. Step inside to witness the scene of early California politics. Perhaps you can imagine the echo of voices raised in argument or the rattle of spittoons as emotions became heated. That's hilarious. I love that.
Don't forget to follow along with the pictures from this episode. Find them at thestateofthestateparks.com under the Galleries tab.
Wisteria they talked about looking at.
Sure some of this wisteria?
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. I bet you it smells amazing. Oh, wow. Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Why don't you take a picture of some of this? Maybe a picture of me smelling it.
Wisteria.
Smells great. Do we want to walk around outside or inside?
Inside.
Let's go.
Follow us on Instagram at State of the State Parks to get behind the scenes extras and so much more.
Hi. Hey, Mo, look at It's Julio.
Yeah, so this is the other state park in the city.
So do you do walks around?
I do, yeah. For the most part, I can give you guys a tour if you would like.
Sure.
I mean, are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Another Julio tour? Yes. One of the features of old buildings is that they have awesome acoustics that pick up everything, including other conversations. So we're going to push forward a little bit to when we're alone with Julio, and our tour starts in a few rooms right off of the main lobby.
So along the way, we have these two side rooms. These were considered committee rooms. They were rooms that were available to have private meetings by assembly or senate members. Some rooms, like this one, is more designed to look as if it was a place for them to write letters to people back home. Other rooms, like this one here, with the table in the center, look like they are definitely more of a meeting room where many people were coming, having conversations, talking about different bills they were going to propose and how to get them passed for the most part. Now, in both these rooms, we have machines. And in this side, we have this machine here. This is called the Great Seal of California Press. And in essence, this machine would emboss the Seal of California onto official documents. Now, the seal itself, we are missing. It's not here, but if you feel underneath this piece, you are going to feel where the dial would eventually screw in, allowing that to emboss onto documents. Now, here is our current Seal of California in gold, but I also do have some other samples to show you. And as you look at them, you're going to see that the seal hasn't changed very much. We've always had the same images on the seal. A woman, this animal that's supposed to be a bear, although here I think it looks like a dog, and there I think it looks a bit more like a possum. We always had a miner and the ship and whatnot. And I have a question for you. Any guesses who that woman on the seal is? I will give you a hint. It's actually a Greek goddess.
Athena.
Yes, it is actually Athena. And the reason why California chose Athena to be on the seal has a lot more to do with how she was created than anything else. And according to mythology, one day Zeus had a really big headache. He went to Prometheus. He got his head, in essence, whacked open, and out jumped a full-grown woman wearing armor. Athena is mostly known as the goddess of wisdom, but she is also the goddess of craft and the goddess of strategy, and mostly the strategy of war. So she can have a kind of a tempestuous side for the most part. Like I said, she was never a child, being born an adult woman, and because California was never a territory, we went from being, in essence, land that the United States owned after the Treaty of Hidalgo was signed in 1848, to being a state almost overnight for the most part.
Wow.
And a lot of that had to do with the gold rush.
Hence the Athena thing. Wow. That's fun. That's fun.
Here, we have now entered into what was known as the Senate chamber. This is where the senators were meeting when this was the capital of California. Now, what's interesting about this building itself is how the building was constructed. Robert Semple actually had this building built in 3 months, which is a lot faster than the 14 years it took to build the current capital of California. But unlike the current capital, this building lacks a lot of very fine detail, which the capital of California has today. When they built that building, they hired artisans from all over the state and probably all over the country to come and truly partake in creating this magnificent, super architectural, super beautiful building, where Robert Semple wanted the building built to make it to the capital. His wood material was actually recycled ships. So if you look at these pictures here, you will see that during the gold rush, we had many ships that were left abandoned in San Francisco Bay. Now, these ships, by the city standards, were considered to be litter, and they were just littering the water. So Robert Semple began to repurpose the materials to help build this building. Historically, these columns were at one time the ship masts, so they're mostly decorative. And the floor, this is not the original, unfortunately, but historically, our original floor was recycled deck boards.
Awesome. And I see spittoons everywhere.
Yes, so historically, this building did not allow the men to smoke. So every single one of these desks on both floors would have had a spittoon available to them. Upstairs in the assembly would have had 66 members, while the Senate was quite a bit smaller at 27 members. Something else that we're very, very lucky to have today are these 3 original desks that are right here in front of us. These desks that are darkest in color, that do look quite a bit worn, are original desks that were here in 1853 when this was the capital. These desks stand around 170 years old. When the state did open this building as a state museum, they had acquired one desk that they were able to build the other replicas from.
Cool.
And over the next few years, they were able to acquire 2 additional desks that came into the collection.
Really so cool. Julio gave us a detailed history of the restoration of this building, and then he grabbed a picture off the wall that is absolutely fascinating.
I did see you earlier take a picture of this map here, and I wanted to point out this map because this map is also showing you historically one of the other things that Benicia was known for. Benicia for a long time had a big wharf attached to the end of First Street, and it was known for ferrying trains across the water. Yes, exactly. Before the train bridge was built that connects Benicia to the city of Martinez today, we were known for our train ferry. It was a boat called the Solano, which I have a picture of.
The Solano Railroad Ferry. That's right. You are as baffled as we were. A train on a boat? Well, not just one car at a time either. The Solano, named after Chief Solano, a leader of the Susun tribe, this ship could transport 24 passenger cars or 48 double-stacked freights. Cruising at a whopping 8 miles an hour with 2 pilot rooms on either side of the ship, you didn't even need to turn this 3,000 horsepower behemoth around to come back.
It took about 9 minutes to cross the Carquinez Strait. She could do an average of 36 to 46 crossings a day. The Solano is named for the county in which Benicia sits, actively sailing 24 hours a day between Port Costa and Benicia from December 1st, 1879 to October 15th, 1930. The last day of the Solano was the same day the train bridge connecting the 2 cities started doing the same trip above the water. The Solano was in service for 51 years. This week's Pinnacle Pick is a picture of Julio holding up an old photo of the Solano inside with pics of the train track on the boat.
Find our Pinnacle Picks at stateofthestateparks.com under the Pinnacle Picks tab.
Now today, a lot of these wharfs no longer stand. They've either burned or fallen into disrepair. But as you look at the water, you're going to see all the pylons, all those large sticks, that are just sticking out of the water. And that is because, like I said, the wharf did extend quite far out, and it allowed the trains to get on and off the ships.
How fun.
That's cool.
That's crazy.
People were really going for it back then.
They were, yeah.
Let's put a train on a boat. Let's do it.
Great idea. Train on a boat.
Yeah, and for the most part, Solano was the largest, but they also did eventually build a second boat called the Contra Costa. Now, unfortunately, both these boats no longer exist today. What is left of the Solano is now over near Antioch. If you go over to Antioch, you can see what kind of looks like an island, I guess is the best way to describe it, out in the water. And that is the remnants of the Solano.
Okay, how fast? We're going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I'm truly fascinated.
So, on this floor, we do have a few paintings and portraits that I want to talk about. We're going to start with the couple on this back wall here, the portraits of the man and the woman. So this man, his name is General Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo. He at one time was a very influential man in California, a very large landowner. As we said, he would eventually build the city of Vallejo that he names after himself. And that is because he did at one time own the property or the land that today makes up the city of Benicia, the city of Vallejo, the city of Petaluma, Sonoma, parts of Santa Rosa, and parts of Napa. This was all his land at one time for the most part.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And he was initially born in the city of Monterrey. Right? When Mexico gains independence in 1821, he would then continue on with the army, but now the Mexican army. He would rise through the ranks, becoming a Mexican general. And when he retires from the army, the Mexican government is like, hey, thanks for all your years of service. Here is 60,000 acres of land. Go up north to Sonoma and procreate and create a city for the most part. And so that is what he did. He found his wife, the woman in the painting next to him. Her full name is Francisca Maria Felipa Benicia Carrillo Lopez Vallejo. That is her full name. She was born in San Diego. Her family had ties back to the Spanish nobility. He saw a picture of her, thought, you know what, I'd like to marry her. Talked to her father. They got married. She leaves San Diego, moves up to Sonoma. And together they have a total of 16 children. 12 of them do live to adulthood.
Any surviving?
I'm sure there are surviving children. Yes, because like I said, they had a big family, so there has to be some surviving children. Now, the second reason why we have their portraits hanging here is because, as I said, this at one time was his property, but more importantly, he sold the land to Robert Semple, who was one of the founding fathers of this city. And when he sold it to him, he sold it to him under 3 conditions. He said, first, I want you to build a school in this new city. And that is because Mr. Vallejo did believe in education. He believed that boys and girls should have a free education. It is a very important part of their lives. And he wanted to make sure that whatever city was created, that they had that opportunity. Secondly, he said, you must find a way across the water. And that, again, leads back to the train ferry boat that we talked about earlier. Mr. Vallejo knew that at this point in time, traveling by water was the quickest way to get anywhere, and he wanted to make sure that the city had an economy that would keep it running for many years to come. So he thought if it was able to receive shipments and send things from here, it would grow the city and have that economy growing, continuing, and make sure that the city could exist for the foreseeable future. And lastly, he told Robert Semple, name the city after my wife. And as I said, her first name is Francisca, but initially San Francisco was not named San Francisco. When they were first founded, they were known as Yerba Buena. And by 1847, when the city is beginning to be founded, they're in the process of changing their name from Yerba Buena to San Francisco. And when they got word that we want to name this city Francisca, which sounds very similar to San Francisco, they thought, nope, not going to happen. People are going to get confused. We do share a waterway for the most part. And they thought people are going to end up trying to get to your city, end up at ours, and vice versa. So you need to pick a different name. So they looked at her long, extensive name again and settled on the name of Benicia, or Benicia for the most part. And that is how this city was named. It was said that she was so honored to know that they had picked Benicia for the name of the city that in Sonoma, she stopped being known as Doña Francisca and began to be called Doña Benicia instead. She now had a city named after herself. Any other questions about anything you see in this room?
How many, so if it was only a year that this was the capital, how many meetings, how many legislative meetings happened?
So they met here for one entire session and began, I want to say it's the 3rd session, it could have been the 4th session that they met here. And then began the next session before ultimately leaving to Sacramento.
Okay.
Now, as far as how often they were meeting, I'm still trying to locate that information because these men were coming from all over the state.
Yeah, it couldn't have been like weekly or even monthly.
Yeah,
probably,
I'm
right?
going to say they were probably meeting when they were here for maybe a few weeks, if not 1 or 2 months at a time,
right?
Like continuously, and then would take a break.
Go home to their...
Exactly.
Wherever.
Go back home to their families.
So it's possible this building was only used for legislation for a couple of months.
Yes,
totally.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And is this the area they went up and like spoke their piece?
That is what we want you to believe.
Oh.
But historically, yes, that never existed. Yes, exactly what you said. So yeah, it historically never existed. In the 1950s, we needed a fire exit.
I love it.
So they removed the window, put in that door, and then built the platform to access it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love it. Fun. Julio walked us back downstairs and we said our goodbyes. What a great day.
Wow. Amazing. Thanks again, Julio.
You're welcome.
Well, what a fun and unexpected day. A second private tour from Julio?
Are we the luckiest people on the planet? I think so.
This epic story of how California kept moving its capital city around is one we had never heard before.
And can we talk about the Solano train ferry? What in the train boat was that? I am still flabbergasted. This was such an amazing day.
I know. In the morning, Julio gave us a private walk that you heard last episode, and today, a second private walk around the old Capitol.
On a scale from 1 to amazing, this trip has already been so fulfilling, and I'm so happy I'm on this trip with you, Mo.
Aww.
That's it for this week on the State of the State Parks. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This is amazing.
I'm truly fascinated.
So this was the building that they used as the Capitol building.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, are you serious? That's fun.
Parks Podcast with Chris
Venmo.
Venmo.
Venmo.